Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. So, we just got to the good part yesterday when I had to stop it. So we're going to jump right into the good part today. This is going to be a short one. This isn't going to be 2 hours long today because I got to work a double. So, I got to rest. Stupid work. Stupid work. Anyway, here we go.
17. You remember that?
No.
Okay. Council, this is from your discovery. May I approach?
Yes.
You recognize that document, sir?
Yes.
All right, and what is the date on that document?
That's 9/26 of 17, but that's not a financial disclosure form.
That's a form where Mr. McDonald's asking the fees to be waived because he can't afford them, correct?
It's a fee opposition promotion sheet. I can't even read what this says, and I'm not clear exactly what it's stating, but.
Correct. Well, you attached it to your documents, that's attached to your search warrant, correct?
Right.
So, or wouldn't you, if you don't know what it was, where are you attaching it?
I'm attaching it because it appears that the bottom area, that there was some kind of a computer program that changed the working defendant, and also the date was typed in there over the form that was handwritten initially, and an electronic signature. And that goes to, it indicates that Mr. McDonald has access to some type of program or something that can put this type of typeset on a document, which appears to be the same as in the counselor letter.
And the fact, that's why you attached it?
Yes.
Okay, it also indicates that you had no money to pay legal fees at the time, correct? Filing fees?
I have to read it. This isn't a legible copy.
Okay, what's the date on that?
9/26 of 17.
9/26 of 17. He wasn't actually hired for the employment records until October. So in the month of September, when he said he didn't have any money, he didn't have any work, you have no reason to doubt that.
But this isn't a financial disclosure form. This isn't just saying whether he's working or not.
All right, sir, have you ever handled any litigation? You ever litigated a case as an attorney or as a pro per litigant?
No.
And when you went through your divorce, were you able to afford an attorney?
Yes.
Okay.
Objection, relevance.
So let me ask you a question.
Sustained. Council approach.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. Now, my point, and the reason I was coming to, was how often do you have to file financial disclosure forms in family court?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, if you don't know, and I don't know, how would someone find out how often they're supposed to file financial disclosure forms in family court?
There's self-help available. There's different means of finding out, but I don't know if there's a rule or if there's not a rule.
Okay, so my point, sir, it's one thing to be sloppy with paperwork. It's quite another to be committing a crime. You agree?
Somewhat.
Okay. Now, we all sign tax returns that say I swear on the penalty of perjury to the first is the best of my ability, that I know this stuff is true. The tax goes a million pages long. Now, did the thought occur to you in the course of your investigation that Mr. McDonald is not a family court lawyer?
Clearly, he's not a family court lawyer.
Okay, so did you find out what happened to his original attorney? Did you find out that he committed suicide?
And I'm aware that he's had several attorneys.
Yes, sir. So my question, sir, is at least in September of 17, Mr. McDonald was in fact unemployed and didn't have any income coming in. So my question for you, sir, is did you look at the financial disclosure form other than the last page? Did you see the front page of it?
The one filed March 13th.
Right. All right. Now, this is the one that, for the record, this is the, there's not a date on the front page of that document, is there?
The state requests, if we're going to refer to the financial disclosure form, we need to refer to the one that's actually been admitted.
You check, good point. Let me get that back from the detective and I'll get the actual. You've asked me to use the one we've marked, and now you gotta help me find it.
It was filed March 13th, 2017,
What's it marked?
so we'll use it.
Oh, he's so annoying. And no, she doesn't have to help you.
Okay. Now I've got a document with the help of my colleague, thank you, marked Exhibit 5, which appears to be okay. Pulling out of this, out of the redacted statement, showing you the document marked Financial Disclosures 1 of 8. Do you see that, sir? I believe that's the same document.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there a date on the front page?
I'm sorry, is there what on the front page?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is there a date on the front page of that document?
No,
Is there a date on the second page of that document?
no,
Is there a date on the third page of that document?
no,
Is there a date on the fourth page of that document?
no,
Is there a date on the fifth page of that document?
no,
Is there a date on the sixth page of that document?
no.
Is there a date on the seventh page? That's the 13th of March,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Now, let me ask you a question, Detective. Did you go down and ask anybody in family court how these documents are prepared? Did somebody just take the box off or the back off and just staple a new date on it? I've never seen,
I'm unclear, this was filed on the 13th with the filing. The complete financial disclosure form was filed within the filing.
okay, and did where in the law or where in the self-help center does it tell Mr. McDonald to update his financial forms before every hearing?
I don't know.
You were aware that there was actually a hearing set for September 17th and it got continued?
There was a lot of hearings set, yes.
Okay, so this thing's been going, you agree that this thing's been going on for quite some time, correct?
Correct.
All right, now, I want to come back to Ms. Hunterton. Without badgering you, when did you go talk to Ms. Hunterton and why?
I spoke to her, I believe it was March 21st, 2018.
All right, and you had developed through a tip that maybe this document was false, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you go talk to Ms. Hunterton?
Yes.
All right. Now, let's go through what we can agree on. Without fighting. We agree that she acknowledges that Mike had been there.
Yes.
She admits that she had been giving him counseling.
No.
All right, well, we'll get back to that. We admit that she agreed that Mike wasn't a threat to his family.
Your Honor, objection, these questions are calling for hearsay.
Well, no, they're not. She's been on the witness
I'm
stand.
overruling the objection that's crossed, but not an answer.
No, we didn't have that discussion.
Okay, well, you got an affidavit from her, did you not, sir? Showing you what state's aid. In fact, this document was prepared specifically at your request, was it not?
No,
Why did Ms. Hunterton prepare that affidavit then for you?
she didn't prepare it for me.
She did not.
She's laughing at him. She's laughing at him.
When did you go see her?
March 21st, I believe.
And then why would she, and she did this affidavit at the jury's, we've already admitted into evidence, was prepared on the 19th of March, or 19th of April, sorry. She didn't do this for you?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Did Ms. Hunterton tell you that she disagreed substantively with anything that was in the letter?
She didn't tell me that she agreed or disagreed, but the only thing that she told me is what was in the letter was in the spirit of what they spoke about, is what she said.
Okay, so the spirit. All right, so if I'm going to commit deception, I've got to convince you that something that's not true is actually true. Correct?
Deception?
Yeah, sure. Okay, isn't that the soul of gravamen, is a fraud? I'm lying to you to get money from you? or
Objection,
deceive you?
calling for legal conclusions.
It's a,
Sustained, we're gonna deal with that in jury instructions.
all right, sir. She said that she agreed with the spirit of what was said in the letter.
Correct.
Okay? And your recollection now is that you don't recall her telling you that Mike had actually been attending counseling with you?
I didn't ask for that, no.
No, you didn't ask for that. Any other questions on this one? All right, thank you, Detective. I may be a little confused about the timeline. Hey, Approach.
Yes.
All right, Counsel, this is States 8?
States 8.
Yes. All right. Have you seen that before, sir?
Yes.
Okay. When and under what circumstances have you seen that affidavit?
I saw that when it was filed in family court.
Okay. And that affidavit pretty much says it's procedurally irregular, but why did you go forward with criminal charges if she said she kind of agreed with the spirit of everything that was in the revised letter?
The investigation has different facets, and just because she said that she would write another letter if she had the chance to, I mean, there's obviously perjury issues that have nothing to do with her letter. There is forgery issues that, I don't know that she's actually said that those are her beliefs of what that sentence actually says.
Okay. All right, okay, you know she's testified.
I don't know.
Okay, you know. How can you be certain that he's committed fraud on his financial forms when you don't know how many times the forms, how often they have to be updated?
Never said he committed fraud on it.
Asked and answered.
Okay. You would agree over the last 4 or 5 years, he's had several different employments. You've seen the records, correct?
I've seen his records with Progistics.
Okay. Now, you watched and collected a videotape for the district attorney's office from family court that we've seen here on the witness stand, correct?
Correct.
Now, did you watch that the entire time?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the entire time that that video was playing, did Mr. McDonald have an attorney?
There was an attorney that came in to withdraw from the case.
Withdraw from the case. Mr. McDonald didn't have an attorney, correct?
Well, I don't, at one point he did, so I don't know when you're speaking about. During the actual hearing, I would say he did not have an attorney.
He did not have an attorney at the hearing. Did that cause you concern that maybe Mr. McDonald wasn't able to get his thoughts out coherently in the face of a tough cross-examiner?
No, I think the questions regarding if you're employed and how much you make are fairly simple.
The attorney was representing his ex-wife, when we all agree doesn't have good feelings for him, correct?
I have no idea what his feelings are.
Okay. Sir, one of the things you can do if you want to find out about somebody, you go talk to their ex-spouse, correct? Like you use that technique as a detective?
Yeah.
Okay. So usually, most divorces don't end amicably, and generally the ex-spouse has got a lot of dirt on people, correct?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, right? It's a standard detective thing, correct? Or there's something you can use if you want to.
Something you can do, I wouldn't say it's standard, but
Okay. Now, you're telling me you don't remember talking to his ex-wife?
I've never, ever talked to his ex-wife, nor have I met her.
You know Detective Ruiz over at the Metropolitan Police Department?
No.
No?
He is literally the worst lawyer ever, ever. He keeps going down the wrong road, and then he keeps going. Dude, just shut up and sit down. Oh, he's so bad.
How many cases are down in family court, sir, do you know?
No.
All right. How many people are delinquent on child support or financial problems?
Objection relevance?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out why this particular
I'm
case is.
sustaining the objection.
All right, I'll rephrase it. Sir, is there any particular special interest in this case? There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of cases down there. Why is it?
This came to my attention during an investigation that I was conducting.
All right, so if Mr. McDonald hadn't run for office, you wouldn't have investigated him and he would not have been charged with a crime.
I guess we could say if he hadn't run for office, there would not have been an allegation that he was not living in the district he was running for. So I guess if you take those steps back, then correct.
Well, once you found the allegation turned out to be false, weren't you uncomfortable that you were being used to somebody else's ends?
Who was using me? I don't feel anybody was using me.
Okay. Do you know as a fact his ex-wife put that out there, or do you know?
I don't know.
Did you call and talk with the mediators of this site? Where are they getting their information from?
I didn't call, no.
Well, the second piece of information would have been demonstrably weaker value since the first allegation turned out not to be true. But you still used it as the basis of a search warrant.
No, I used it as a tip to begin an investigation, which developed probable cause for my search warrant through further investigation.
What other detectives did you work with on this case?
Detective Mark Gregory.
And does Detective Gregory, does he have any background with false documents?
Yes, in the course of where we're assigned.
Right, well, let me ask you a couple of questions. You're doing, what's the name of the unit now?
Criminal intelligence section.
Criminal Intelligence Section. Now, do you guys have a mission statement?
No.
All right, I know what a burglary detective does, I know what a homicide detective does, but what does a criminal intelligence unit do?
I explained it at the beginning of my testimony. We gather information and investigate allegations of crimes which are violations of public integrity type statutes.
Did you interview Judge Markey?
No.
How long did that audio tape go on, the court minutes? It was clearly edited. How long was that hearing?
Maybe a couple hours.
And of that couple hours edited, we saw how much time?
I don't know.
Objection may be
Eight
reversed.
streams.
Yes.
Any time during that tape, did they discuss child custody? Mr. McDonald asked for his kids back, or at least access to his kids.
I believe that's what the whole point of the hearing was, for the most part.
And the judge denied his request.
Yes.
Just a couple of follow-up minor points, sir. I just want to close loop on a couple of things. Did you ever go and interview Mr. DeCiro? No. Did anybody from your unit go and interview Mr. DeCiro?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And how many guys were on your, how many detectives were on your unit?
At the time, I believe there was 5, and it differed between 5 and 6.
Do you know, or would you know if somebody actually went over and talked to the moderator of this website?
Yes.
You would?
If it was on my squad, yes. I can't speak for the whole police department.
Did Judge, or did anybody other than you, this is all your initiative. You started this investigation, start to finish. No one's asked you to?
No.
And other than this anonymous tip about where you live?
That's it.
I know you're good.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. And first, in rebuttal, the state has an additional proposed exhibit. May I approach to have it marked as next in line?
Yes.
So, Detective, you've been asked a lot by defense counsel about viewing the Nevada Court Watchers Facebook site. So I want to refer to that for a few minutes. First, why were you monitoring that specific Facebook page for Nevada Court Watchers?
That's just one of the sites that I look at from time to time. It discusses different aspects of the courts and different attorneys and or judges, and it's information that's basically stuff that we monitor and stuff that the type of investigations that we do involve those type of entities and those type of persons.
Okay, when you say those entities and types of persons, is that the fact that you look into allegations of wrongdoing by licensed individuals like attorneys?
Correct.
As well as judges?
Correct.
And what you observed on that Facebook site, was that a message you received, or was it just a public comment on that site?
No, it's a public comment.
So did anyone ever contact you directly on Facebook, or
No.
email or other electronic means regarding the defendant?
No.
Now, you were asked about you were asked about a form that was attached to your search warrant affidavit.
And that one question just blew the whole defense away, that they're after him because he's a political figure.
That had a date on it of September 26th of 2017.
Correct.
Just now by defense counsel. Why was that attached to your search warrant?
Again, that was attached to show down at the bottom, there appeared to be an alteration with typeset on the bottom, which says defendant. Same thing with the date of 9/26/17. And then there appears to be a typed or a script signature that's over it that's not handwritten. And this is the type of script that appears to me to be in the altered letter that was placed on there. So this was to show that Mr. McDonald had access to some type of program that would put this typeset into a document that already existed. So I was just showing the correlation to it.
And the financial disclosure form that you reviewed in the course of your investigation, when was that actually filed in the defendant's family court case?
That was filed on March 13th of 2018.
And in the course of your investigation, did you determine whether or not the defendant was employed on that date?
Yes.
Okay, was he or was he not employed on that date?
He was employed.
And the financial disclosure form that was filed on March 13th of 2018, did it have a date on it anywhere on the form?
On the signature page, it had the date of March 13th.
And in the course of your investigation, at some point, did you request client records from Ms. Nancy Hunterton's therapy practice?
Yes,
Okay. And were those records ever received?
yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Man, he's a jerk.
Please approach. Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness who states for purpose 28? Detective, I'm showing you states for post 28. The first page you may not recognize, but is that a custodian of record affidavit?
It is.
Okay. And have you seen that before or not?
Not this particular one, no.
Okay. And then can you flip through the rest of the pages in states for post 28 and tell me if you recognize them?
Yes,
Are those records that you obtained from Ms. Nancy Hunterton's practice, Character Way?
yes,
And, Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to admit state's proposed Exhibit 28 pursuant to NRS 52.260 because there's a custodian of record affidavit which allows for admittance of these records if one is included with the records.
No objection pursuant to the conversation of the bench.
That's fine. Will be admitted. Pursuant to our conversation.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish?
Go ahead.
And so I'm publishing the state's Exhibit 28. Can you see that on your screen, okay, Detective?
yes.
Okay. And, all right, and what we're looking at here, what does it say at the top?
Says letter / affidavit.
Okay. And so what is it that we're looking at here? Just what type of document?
Appears to be an email.
Okay, from whom?
Mr. McDonald.
And what's the email address?
It's Michael McDonaldWork @gmail.com.
And who is the email to?
Nancy Hunterton.
What's the date on the email?
April 19th of 2018.
And what does the email itself say?
If you could scoot it over just a little bit, it's cut off.
Go like that.
Yeah, thank you. Nancy wanted to ask you how the letter is coming along. Would really like to file it with a dismissal tomorrow or early next week as it is looming over my head. Thank you for all that you do.
And Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 5 up there with you?
I do.
Okay. You're may approach her if you've done. Actually, any exhibit, if you have any exhibits, I'll stop there. Bragging. And of course, brief indulgence. So Detective, I'm showing you the last page of State's Exhibit 2. And so what I'm showing you is attached to State's Exhibit 2. And when we see on the front page, would you agree this is one of the filings for Michael McDonald from September 27th of 2007?
Dibs. Mike dibs. Who are we dibsing? I don't care who we're dibsing. I dibs before Mike. It's mine.
Correct.
And so the last page of this document, you were asked about attaching this to your search warrant. Does this appear to be a copy of what you attached to your search warrant request?
Yes, could you scoot it down just a little so I can see the bottom?
Okay.
Yes, it does, thank you.
Okay. And so I believe you were testifying that this stood out to you, I think, because of this section and this section here. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Could you explain that?
Again, it looked like it was an existing document that had some handwritten writing on it, as well as the date. And then what it appears is there's some typeset that was somehow imposed or put into the document stating defendant 926 to 17, and then what appeared to be a signature. And that struck me because it appears to be the same type of way that that extra sentence may have been added into the letter from Ms. Hunterton.
Okay. And so I'm going to show you an additional exhibit that contains a copy of the letter. So you can pick that out, and that's State's Exhibit 5. I'll zoom in. Okay. And do you see here kind of the similar technology that you were talking about?
Correct.
Okay. And can you explain what you're referring to?
I'm referring to the last line that says, "I do not believe Mr. McDonald is a harm to his children or himself."
So you're saying it looked like it was a similar type of technology method, adding this sentence to this letter as adding the wording to the document that we were just looking at?
Correct.
Court's brief indulgence. I will pass the witness.
A couple quick follow-up questions. Detective, there's something I don't understand. Was Michael McDonald behind on his child support?
I have no idea.
Well, if he wasn't behind on his child support, and no one's asking for your help, and you've never been to family court, and you have no reference in family court, why did you randomly pick a few documents and file felony charges on them?
And randomly picked documents that explain the course of my investigation, and there's clearly filed documents as part of my investigation, which are felony crimes.
Did you check with anybody for some perspective on things? That's an enormous bureaucracy down there. Thousands, tens of thousands of pieces of paper every day.
I clearly saw that it seemed to be an issue with the family court judge on the video.
Did you interview the family court judge?
No,
Did you get any communications from the family court judge?
no.
So she's got all sorts of lawful powers to enforce order in her court. Did you check with her? Why are you duplicating her effort?
I wasn't duplicating her effort.
All right. To this day, do you know what percentage of litigants in family court even update their financial disclosures after their first file?
No.
And you agree that this divorce has been going on for 5 years?
It's been going on for several years, I know that.
Several years. So you can't even say, as you're sitting here, that this is any different than any other family court case?
When you're talking about updating financial disclosure forms, the one that we've been looking at on March 13th was filed on March 13th, and it was signed that it was March 13th, so.
Was it, but my point, Detective, is you simply don't have the reference to know. I mean, every bureaucracy is different.
Objection, counsel
I'll withdraw
testifying.
his argument. Aye.
Sustained.
Okay. Knowing that you're in an area that you don't understand that well or you don't use every day, did you try to talk to a couple of lawyers from that area of law?
No.
Did you talk to a retired family court judge to see if this really was a big deal?
No.
Okay, nothing further.
Court's brief indulgence. Just briefly, Your Honor, I may be here.
All right,
Hey, Detective.
it's something you brought up and.
It is, Your Honor.
Okay.
Detective, you were asking questions about why you didn't talk to certain people, specifically Judge Linda Markey. Why didn't you talk to Judge Linda Markey in the course of your investigation?
I certainly can't have communication with the judge about one of her cases that she's overseeing.
Why is that?
It's improper.
And you were also asked if you met with Mark DeCiro. Why did you never meet with Mark DeCiro?
You really didn't have anything to add to my investigation.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Yeah.
No, very good.
Questions from the jury? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Don't be shy.
Folks, if you have, you can use the full sheet of paper, and we don't have shortages of paper. And write your juror number on there. And you don't have to fold them up, you can just hand it.
You know, if you could write it, agree with me, do it on a full sheet, because those are kept
Okay.
for,
Sure, yeah.
as part of the court record, and a little scrap is gonna get lost.
Judge, one of the jurors had her notes on the top, I told her to tear that
Okay,
off.
if it's big enough that... Steve, we have lots more. Council approach. Detective, I read these as they're written, so it sometimes sounds weird because of the third person, whatever. This one doesn't. Does your department/squad have access to computer forensic analysis?
Our squad does not. Not quite sure what would be analyzed on the document.
Were the files/photos of the letters retained and submitted to computer forensics to determine origin of alterations? If not, why?
No. We're dealing with, I never even had an original copy of this. Was all documents that were recovered from the clerk's office, so they're scanned in. So even if we had capabilities to do some type of forensic identification or something, we can't do it off of scanned documents. So we never did locate the original letter, so we wouldn't be able to do any type of forensic activity with it.
Was your initial observation of Michael McDonald at his residence, parentheses, out of area, done on your own personal time or part of your salaried day?
It was during my work hours.
Referring to your comment on your, quote, downtime.
I think I made a statement that I review some websites when we have downtime. But still, I'm talking about while I'm on my shift, not when I'm at home or something similar to that. So it's all during my work time.
Follow up on those those questions from the state,
No, Your Honor.
from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Detective, you may step down.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking our evening recess. Council approach. Okay, 9 a.m. During this recess, you're once again admonished, do not talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with the trial. Do not read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on this trial or any person connected with this trial by any medium of information, including, without limitation, newspapers, television, radio, or internet. Do not form or express any opinion on any subject connected with the trial until the case is finally submitted to you. We've heard testimony regarding websites. Do not go and look up anything, please. We always find out, and it, again, is not a good thing. So don't go looking up anything to do with this case. Don't do any experimentation of any kind. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Folks, you'll wait out in front of 15B, not in front of 15C. Make sure that you validated your parking. Leave your notebooks and pens here. Make sure you grab all your personal items. Once again, make sure you validate your parking. See you tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Department 28 now in session. The Honorable Ronald Israel presiding.
Good morning, please be seated. Go ahead.
Case number C 335284, State of Nevada versus Michael McDonald.
Anything we need to talk about?
Just briefly, Your Honor, the state has the unredacted versions of things that have been admitted as state's exhibits, and the state just wants to make sure these are admitted as court exhibits,
No objection.
not to go back to the jury.
Not that it's worth much, but I do want to commend my colleagues who clearly spent a lot of time redacting those documents. And despite my heat of the moment complaints, I want to recognize that she's obviously a lot of effort to it.
Thank you.
So can I approach, I just didn't want to do it in
Yeah.
front of the jury.
Yes.
What do you have?
Appreciate it. So we have one witness and then jury
Mr. Stoller,
instruction.
and I've been up most of the night when I'm working on your instructions. I don't think we'll have any trouble getting this case to the jury.
Okay, very good.
Most of it.
Here's like a pretty big trial with, I don't know how many different sides. Supposed to start whenever this is done, so I keep, first it was Tuesday, and then it was, so it's back and forth. But anyway, you guys have done it expeditiously. Anything from the defense?
Mayor, we'll,
Bring them in. Please be seated. Parties acknowledge the presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
yes, Your Honor.
State, call your, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. So you have an idea, we hope to be, no promises, but we hope to be doing closing arguments this afternoon. So, State, call your next witness.
The state calls Marshall Willick. And Your Honor, may I approach to retrieve some exhibits?
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and under pain of criminal case of perjury?
I do.
Please be seated. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
First name Marshall, M-A-R-S-H-A-L, last name Willick, W-I-L-L-I-C-K.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Willick.
Good morning.
Mr. Willick, what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney,
Okay, and what kind of attorney are you?
family law, in the vernacular divorce law.
And how long have you been a family law attorney?
Most of my career, I've been an attorney for almost 40 years and been doing family law for most of that time.
And in what jurisdiction?
All in Nevada.
Okay. And in, mostly in Clark County or?
Yes, it's a statewide practice, but I live here, so the bulk of my cases have been here.
And do you have your own law firm?
I do.
And what is that called?
It's the Willick Law Group, at the moment, 4 lawyers.
And are you the founding partner?
I am.
And can you explain a little about what you do as a family law attorney?
Sure. Family court takes in a number of issues that are set out in the statutes. It's divorce, custody, visitation, support, adoption, guardianship, terminations of parental rights, and pretty much every issue that can come up in a divorce, which is pretty much everything, finds its way into family court one way or another.
And could you kind of go through your work history, sort of where?
Sure. I grew up here, junior high school, college. We didn't have a law school back then, so I went elsewhere and came back.
Where did you go to law school?
Georgetown in D.C. Went to work in the Nevada Supreme Court for a couple of years on the central legal staff. Joined an insurance defense firm for a year or two during the MGM fire litigation. And then when that ended, went off into a small firm, which dissolved about 3 or 4 or 5 years later. And then I restarted it as the Willick Law Group.
And the Willick Law Group, when was that first formed?
80s, 87, 88, 89, somewhere.
So approximately 30 years ago?
Right.
Okay. And do you have any particular certifications regarding family law?
Well, several. I'm a certified family law specialist by the NBTA, by the state of Nevada. I'm a member of the American and International Academies of Matrimonial Lawyers. There's a number of organization certificates, et cetera. I've received training in most ancillary fields and processes.
Have you authored any books or articles on family law in Nevada?
Yes, several books and hundreds of articles. There is no complete list, but a general book for the public called Know Your Rights in Divorce, several textbooks for lawyers, military and military retirement benefits. I teach a lot.
Do you teach, what do you teach?
Mostly lawyers. It's called CLE, Continuing Legal Education. And I have a frequent appearance to teach specialized topics in family law to lawyer audiences. There's also been a bunch of general public information.
Okay, so you teach the general public about family law as well?
When I'm invited, yes.
So how does that work? Do you go and speak at functions or?
Yes. The state bars will put them on, or county bars, or even private organizations will have some sort of event, and they bring in speakers to address various topics, which I've done on a wide range of divorce. As I said, divorce sooner or later takes in pretty much anything that can happen in a courtroom. So I've been invited to speak on topics from computers to pension benefits.
And do you have any involvement with the Nevada Family Law Practice Manual?
Well, yeah, I was the original author of most of it, and the original managing editor for its creation, which took some years. And it's gone on to, I think, 2 or 3 other editions since then.
And when was the family court in the 8th Judicial District Court here in Clark County, when was that created?
1992. Before that, family law was done in the general courtrooms. There was no civil criminal division. It was all one group, and family law was just lumped in with everything else as something that would be heard first thing in the morning right before criminal sentencing or fender benders or whatever. So there was a decision in the late 80s is when the debate started, eventually a constitutional amendment in the Nevada Constitution to allow the formation of a family court specific to handling these very personal, very important cases.
And did you have any involvement in the creation of that family court?
Yeah, I've been involved since the beginning. I was part of the attorney focus groups that backed the legislation, and I wasn't in the legislature. I was just an attorney in practice who assisted people that actually got the thing passed and tried to set it up.
Meaning assisted the legislators?
Yeah, I answered, I've always been something of a legal technician, so I've answered a lot of questions from legislators, from judges. That's pretty much my role.
And have you previously testified as an expert before the 8th Judicial District Court regarding family law?
Many times.
And you're receiving compensation for testifying here today?
That's my understanding. I've never submitted a statement, but my understanding is I'm supposed to track my time and eventually submit a statement.
Okay. And do you do an hourly rate?
I don't know what hourly rate is acceptable to the public covers. I was told that it was $150, and so that's fine.
Okay. And so in your experience practicing family law, have you taken family court cases to trial?
Hundreds, thousands.
And mostly in Clark County?
Mostly.
I am a lady. Sometimes.
So as a result of your work experience, are you familiar with the family court building here in town?
In the building. My office is across the street.
Okay. So the family court building at 601 North Pecos?
Yes, corner of Pecos and Bonanza.
And are you familiar with how litigants typically file things in family court? And I'm not talking about attorneys, but the actual parties.
Sure, and both can. You can either file electronically or you can file across the counter.
Across the counter, meaning in person?
Yeah, you show up and you hand documents over. There's actually two places where you can do that. You can do that here in this building. This is called the RJC, the Regional Justice Center. Or you can file at the family court, which has a duplicate clerk's counter at that court.
And are most people who are getting divorces or have family court cases, are they represented by an attorney in family court?
Well, it's changed over the years. Currently, I believe it's 60, some odd, could be up to 70% of cases have at least one litigant involved in the case who is self-represented. They're called either pro per, proper person, or pro se litigants. And the remainder have an attorney. And a lot of people bounce in and out. They can have an attorney for one piece of the case and be self-represented in another part of the case, or vice versa.
Are you familiar with the self-help center that's in the family court building?
Intimately.
Okay. Can you explain what that self-help center does?
Sure. The Self-Help Center was created to assist people who either can't or don't want to hire a lawyer to file documents in family court. They're not allowed to give legal advice that would be practiced in law, but they do provide, they've always provided packets of information. The system has changed in the last few years. It's been taken over by the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. They run the Self-Help Center in this building and the Self-Help Center at the family court. And I was part of the committee that redesigned the forms to make them easier to use and more accessible to the general public so that people can get into the system and litigate their own cases on the merits as easily as possible.
And what kind of, you kind of touched on this, but what kind of issues are being determined in a family court case?
Everything that might possibly come up. You're looking at the divorce itself, that's status, custody of children, of course, support of children, support of spouses, property division, debt division, and every ancillary thing that can come up. Every property issue that you can imagine has been litigated in family court, every corporate matter, every bit of partnership law. Sooner or later, if it comes up in a courtroom, it will find its way to family court.
And so frequently you said you're referred to as a divorce attorney, but is it fair to say that even after parties have gotten divorced, they may still have issues that are being determined in family court?
Sure. One of the big differences between family law and virtually everything else that happens is that the cases almost never end. some things are considered final when they happen. For instance, property division is considered final and generally can't be changed much 6 months after a decree of divorce is entered. But as long as the children are minors, upon changed circumstances, custody is at issue, support is at issue. In some cases, spousal support can be changed as well. It depends on the orders entered in the original divorce action.
And in the course of making these determinations, what types of information are typically presented to family court judges when they're making decisions on these matters?
Well, it depends on the issue involved. If you're dealing with either, say, support of a child or spousal support, even property division, and financial information, meaning income, debt, assets, all of that stuff has to be presented to the court because it all has to be weighed in making a decision about who should be doing what with what money.
And so things like financial information, are they, is that information, a litigant's financial information, is that important in family court cases generally?
Oh, critical. I mean, obviously, you don't want judges guessing. They're supposed to use the facts of the case to make reasoned decisions for support of children, support of spouses, and division of assets.
And now your work in this case specifically, did you review any documents specifically regarding this case?
I did. I've reviewed the litigation history. There's a thing out there called a register of action.
Would you approach?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes.
And Mr. Willick, I think before the objection, I think I just asked you what you would review in the course of preparing for your testimony, and I think you mentioned reviewing something called the Register of Actions, and you were explaining what that was.
Yeah, it's the court record of what's been filed in a case to refamiliarize myself with the history of this particular family law matter. And I have looked over the exhibits that have been provided me from your office, which are basically all family court documents on file in this case, including various motions, financial affidavits, exhibits, etc.
And I'll ask you some questions about what you reviewed, but I don't want you to be telling me what particular documents say unless I specifically ask for it.
Okay.
And so regarding some of the documents that you prepared in this case,
I didn't prepare any documents.
all right, I misspoke, that you reviewed.
Okay.
So thank you for, if I misspeak, please do correct me.
No problem.
So I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 5. Do we need to do something for the monitor?
If you're on, can you, is that?
This is on.
It's just a remote.
Oh.
It's always a good sign.
Okay, let's take a short recess. We'll get the IT people in here. This is somewhat new equipment. All right, bring them in.
I'll press it.
Thank you. Parties acknowledge presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, for now we have the technical difficulties fixed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to reread a pretrial instruction, and actually it's another instruction that you will be getting. Since the law requires that any question asked any witness complies with the rules of evidence, it is possible that the court will deem that question inappropriate and therefore it may not be asked. You are not to draw any inferences or conclusions one way or the other if the question you submit is not asked. If your question is asked and answered, you are not to place undue weight on the responses given to your question. There are certain questions which you may wish to ask which are never proper or allowed in a trial. Those questions involve hearsay, which ask a witness to relate facts told to them by someone else. And so those questions, that's just a sample, cannot be asked. So continue.
Marshall Willett.
Mr. Wilk, you're still under oath.
Thank you, Ron.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Wilk, I'm publishing what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 5, and it's up on our television screens here, and can you see it on the screen in front of you as well?
This screen is,
It needs to be turned on.
Um,
Probably on this. Actually on the right corner.
thank you. Yes,
Okay, do you see it on the screen in front of you?
yes.
Is this one of, do you recognize this as one of the items that you reviewed in the case involving Mr. McDonald?
I'm pretty sure it is, yes.
And at what kind of document are we looking at here?
It's a cover sheet to a list of exhibits with a change in the rules. I was a member that redid our rules a couple years ago to make it a little easier for judges to review documents because they're now all computerized like this bunch is. The rules were changed so that when you have exhibits to a filing in family court, you file the document itself as one thing and then the exhibits to that document as a separate thing. This appears to be the cover sheet of the exhibits to another filing, usually a motion or something.
And so I'm going to go a few pages into State's Exhibit 5. And do you recognize what we're looking at on the screen here?
Yes, I've seen it.
And what is this document?
It is apparently a letter from a psychotherapist indicating a course of treatment for Mr. McDonald.
And the letter is from a therapist, correct?
Right.
An LMFT.
Yeah, licensed marriage and family therapist.
And in the course of you practicing family law for approximately 30 years, in the course of you doing that, have you seen family court cases in which a litigant has provided to the court a letter from a therapist?
Many, many times.
And what are these letters used for? What does the judge use them for?
It depends on what the issues are in the case. Most typically, there's a custody evaluation of some sort going on. That's probably the most common thing, where people are making allegations of one sort or another about custodial fitness or some sort of behavior, and a psychotherapist is asked to either do testing or evaluation or therapy of one, the other, both litigants to try to determine their fitness and suitability for the custodial schedule that's at issue in the case.
And I want to draw your attention particularly to this particular sentence here. Do you see where my pen is pointing?
Yes, the last sentence on the first paragraph.
Yes, could you read that sentence, please?
I do not believe Mr. McDonald is a harm to his children or himself.
Have you, in the course of your career, have you seen cases in which an LMFT makes such a blanket statement with little other explanation in a family court case?
Well, I've seen very few cases of that poor grammar, the intention to express an intention, a statement of that sort. Have I seen naked conclusions? Yeah, I mean, in the course of all the decades I've been doing this, I've seen pretty much everything. But typically I would expect a little bit more text, yes.
Like what?
Well, it depends again on what the issues are. If there has been an allegation of some sort of domestic violence or threats of harm, I would usually expect to see some recitation of what has been reviewed, when it was reviewed, which collateral witnesses were talked to, and why a conclusion was reached.
And court's brief indulgence. And are you familiar with the Facebook page by the name of Nevada Court Watchers?
Yes,
Okay. And what's your involvement in that Facebook page?
it's one of many Facebook pages that are out there where people talk about matters pending in courts. And my involvement is I occasionally answer technical legal questions where people post, for instance, when are the child support statutes changing? What are the new rules going to be? Have the local rules for family court altered? And if so, how? That's a typical question that I would answer on that or many other websites and forums. Law Guru, Martindale Hubble, Ask a Lawyer, lawyers.com, all of those.
So are you saying you answer questions on these other websites as well?
Yes, it's a public service.
And the Facebook page Nevada Court Watchers, were you involved in its creation?
No.
And in the course of your practice, have you come in contact with the defendant, Mr. Michael McDonald?
Yes, we've met a couple of times.
Okay. And where was that you met him?
I have seen him on the third floor conference room reception area at Family Court. I was waiting for a committee meeting and he was there doing something else. And, I believe we were introduced briefly.
And did you see him here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Could you please point at him and describe something that he's wearing?
Sure. He's the center gentleman wearing the white shirt at the defense counsel table.
So we're going to go back to Stacy.
Approach.
Yes.
All right, guys, you knew it was going to be a short one today. So I'm going to wrap it up there. It's a good stopping point. I'm going back to bed, and I'm going to work, and then I will see you all tomorrow. But listen, I have something big for Monday. It is so good. It's a tad bit long, but it's every minute of it is delicious. I'm going to play it after Bill's live stream of Judge Fleischer's docket. And then we're going to, no, Debbie, no OJ today. I have to work a double and I'm not feeling good. You guys are going to love this. I'm going to try very hard to sneak out little clips ahead of time of what you're about to see on Monday. But Monday, clear your calendars because I don't know if it's 4 hours long, but it might be. So, just buckle up. Just buckle up because it's so good. But again, I will see you tomorrow too. I'll see you tomorrow morning and we'll do our regular normal live and OJ. Bye guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Got these life echoes, digital dreams. Through the screen, her blue eyes gleam. Wicked humor, sharp as a knife. Her stream sparks electric light. Late night when the world sleeps, she's the friend that always keeps. Giggles roll like thunder loud. She stands out in any crowd. Kathy's laugh cuts through the gloom. Eyes blue like a summer's bloom. Her humor dark and twisted charm. In a wake, there's no alarm. feels just right. Even when my world turns gray, with a giggle, she lights the way. Kathy's love.